Hello, coin droppers, and welcome back to the Coin Drop Podcast, episode number 78. Joining me once again is Tim, back from his week off, enjoying the weekend with the missus. How you been, buddy?
It was nice. When you say week off, it wasn't just a week off from here. It was a week off entirely. I decided to take the entire week off.
Nice.
I was originally going to come back and work for a couple of days, but ultimately I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'll just take the week off.
Fair enough.
I have to go back to real life, I guess technically today, but really Monday. So
right.
It's been nice.
Good stuff. I just had my family Thanksgiving earlier today. Actually, we always do it on Saturday after. So had family over, ate way too much food, have even more food. I don't need to cook for the next 3 weeks. I'm good. I'm done. Yep. Taken care of.
Thankful, and so I'm going to gorge.
Yes, yeah. And the gorge we definitely did, but we got some housekeeping we want to address real quick off the cuff here. Last week, Mike and I talked about Sony's proposed acquisition of Kadokawa. Well, apparently we got some information incorrect. So Tim's going to clear up some things. So Tim, what do you got for us that you found?
Yeah, so to clarify even that statement, it wasn't technically incorrect information. When it originally came out, it actually did come out as if Sony had approached Kadokawa. And it turns out that's actually not necessarily correct. According to, I think it's Bloomberg. I was going to say GameIndustry.biz.
Yeah, as I was
Bloomberg. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bloomberg basically clarified, and they're not the only ones that confirmed this information. It wasn't necessarily Sony that approached them. Actually, it turns out that it was Kadokawa that approached Sony. So the short end of this is basically they didn't want a hostile takeover from a foreign company, be that Microsoft because they did express interest, or there's South Korea's Kakao, and various other companies. Basically, they didn't want a foreign company to buy them, and so they decided to reach out to Sony because they knew that Sony not only were into video games, but also anime, because Sony has an anime division, and so does Kadokawa. And so, more or less, they reached out to Sony and said, hey, what are your thoughts? And the original information that Russ and whatnot shared last week was more or less the Sony acquisition offer, I guess.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it's a little bit more complicated, and that it might be, or not it might be, it's that Kadokawa wants them to purchase them because they don't want any sort of hostile takeover, and Sony doesn't necessarily want to buy the entirety of the company. Originally, Sony was trying to buy just the anime side of things, but Kadokawa was like, how about all of this? So it's a bit more, nuanced than what we originally were given information on, not just from Russ's side, obviously Russ and Mike's side, but in any case, who knows? Just the fact that Bloomberg came out and was like, hey, by the way, there's actually more to this, that actually boosted Kadokawa's market value to $4.1 billion. So that might make things a little bit more difficult, unless there was already some sort of, like, say, preliminary agreement involved with how much they would offer at that time. Valuation doesn't change things, assuming they have this preliminary agreement in place. But who knows? We don't know anything officially confirmed by either departments yet, or corporations yet, and who knows? I mean, maybe Microsoft will somehow step in and be like, so long as you keep the games multi-platform or whatever. Who knows? We'll see what happens. We're gonna get some sort of information eventually.
Whichever way it ends up going, whether it's Sony, Microsoft, or anybody else, I don't see their games not being third party. I don't see them going full exclusive. That'd be again, that's a move that's only going to hurt them in the long run, but that's besides the point. So that's just an update to what we talked about last week a little bit. Speaking of that, we've also made this clear, I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, not next week, sorry. The week after next, on the 14th, there will be no streamed episode. I've said it at least 2 episodes now in a row. This is a third one. Week of the 14th, there will be no streamed episodes. We will be doing a recorded one. I'll be at a D&D session that's going to run probably most of the day. So if you're looking for any other updates, interesting news, things that we share throughout the week, you can find that at our Discord. You can also join our Patreon, where we do extra show, extra content, upcoming games, talk about some good stuff. Over there tonight, we're actually going to be talking about a couple of things. We're going to talk about some comments from Chris Judge that hints at maybe some more God of War, as well as news of a veteran at Sony retiring, who, according to Tim and apparently many others, Sony would not be who they were without this man, and it appears he's leaving Sony. So we'll get into what that means for him, as well as some news about Gran Turismo, some conversation about the leaked Switch 2 information, and a game that looks a lot like Horizon Zero Dawn. So we'll be talking about that over on the Patreon tonight. You can find all of our links at linktree.com/coindropvets. Our Patreon itself is patreon.com/coindroppod. You can find links to our Discord, our merch, all of our stuff at that link tree. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into kind of our big main, well, our first topic of the night. We don't really have any huge topics tonight, but those will come.
Yeah, with the Game Awards and stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks, it makes sense for there not to be a lot of news.
Yeah, there's more coming. And there is some big news. Speaking of big news, this one's definitely more geared towards PC gamers, but it's a conversation topic nonetheless. On screen right now, we have a just stilled image of what actually is an RTX 4090. Just if anybody's looking at this is not the actual card. NVIDIA has let it slip numerous times now that the NVIDIA 5090 card will be debuting at CES 2024. So this year, literally next month, they will be at CES showing off their new flagship graphics card. And there's been a lot of leaked information, a surprising amount of leaked information about this card, to the point where we basically already know what we're looking at.
Yep. You think they'd do a better job of keeping this kind of stuff in check, but not this time around.
Especially with the GDP that company has, seeing as how it's more than most of our country put together. How did they let this leak? How? If somebody told me, hey, I'm going to tell you a secret and I'm going to give you $5 million to not say anything before this date, I'd be like, yeah, all right. I don't care what it is. Did you kill like 1 million people? What? I'll take the 5. What'd you do? Like, I'll carry this secret for X amount of time. They're so anyways, that's besides the point. So the 4090, when it launched, was considered an astronomically priced card. NVIDIA is really pushing the boundary of what I think is a reasonable price to ask for a single piece of tech. So when the 4090 launched, the Founders Edition was $1,599 USD. That's crazy.
Yes. Like you can buy a pretty damn good PC for $1,600.
Yeah. At the time, definitely. Now maybe. So, hit or miss. Multiple leaks at this point have basically confirmed that the RTX 5090 will launch at about $1,999. It's going to be a $2,000 graphics card.
Just the GPU.
Yeah. And here's the thing, man. It's granted, okay. It's top of the line. It's made for the enthusiast of enthusiasts. But god damn it, you are pricing these so astronomically that anybody who isn't already in the PC world is just, it's getting harder for them to enter. Like, it's just getting harder. With the price of GPUs going the way they are, dude, I paid $800 for my GPU. It's an AMD top of the line, and I run Stalker 2 at 2K at over 60 FPS pretty much consistently the entire time.
I mean, just $800 alone for a single component.
It's still really fucking expensive.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trust me, I wasn't thrilled about that price tag either.
5090 sounds like,
yeah.
So I mean, to be fair, the 40 series, the 4090, you said cost $1,600 at launch, right?
Yep.
But you can get, say a 4070 Ti for what, $600 or something like that?
Let's see what they're MSRPing right now. Let's pull up some new.
You got to be a little bit fair here in the sense that the 90 series or the 90 series, the 90 portions of the whatever current series is out is meant to be the top of the top.
It is
for the super enthusiast, the person who's got way too much freaking money, and most people aren't going to buy them.
Okay.
Right? I mean, maybe Mike will, or I guess Mike will let the company that he works for buy it.
So here you go. The 4070 Ti is $799. It is only $100 less than what I paid for my AMD RTX 7900 XT. And it has 16 gigabytes of DDR6 RAM on it. My GPU has 24, and it is $100 more than the 4070. This is what I'm talking. The disparity,
a lot more RAM.
Yeah, the disparity between their top of the line, the 5090 or the 4090, is still like ridiculous when compared to the competition. Like, it's this weird, I don't know. AMD has said they don't want to compete the way they used to anymore. They can't keep up with Nvidia. Fair, but like, it almost seems like if you can't afford a 5090 or 4090, you're better off going with AMD, because bang to buck, you're going to get more for your money if you can't afford that $2,000 price tag.
Which sort of makes me wonder, when you consider the fact that AMD doesn't have the same sort of presence in the AI software side of things.
Yeah. Their FSR is definitely not as good as DLSS. There's no arguing.
It's nowhere near. Yeah, it's nowhere near as close, or DLAA or all the other things.
Mm-hmm.
So is it worth taking that step down in bang for buck for all of those extra AI features? I know for you it's not.
Mm-hmm. I'm a native res. Yeah, I'm a native res guy. I don't like how we immediately went from 1080p to 2K to 4K, and like we're all about native, and then immediately went, nah, let's downscale it to 720p and then upscale it to 4K with it. No, native. I promise you, it looks better.
I mean, you gotta be honest. There are some games out there that are running on AI upscaled 4K that look just as good.
Sure.
If not just barely imperceptibly worse, you know. So it's like,
but is that worth the cost of that card?
It just, I mean, for a 5090, no, I don't think so.
$2,000, yeah.
But say for like a 4070 Ti at $700 or $800, I'd say so. But that's just for someone who's not like super involved in the PC crowd, because that's where I'm at.
So, the 7900 XT, which is what I have, my GPU. It has.
Are they on the 900 series or whatever now?
What?
Or am I wrong? Am I wrong?
I don't know what you're talking about. 900 what?
Sorry, the 9000 series. I don't fucking know how graphics cards work. Man. It's confusing.
No, 9000 is where their CPUs are.
That's where
their CPUs are at 9000. Yeah. The GPUs are at 79. I guess it'd be. I don't know if they're doing 8000 next gen. Anyways, doesn't matter. My GPU has 20 gigs of DDR6 RAM in it. 24. I thought it was 24, but this is saying 26. Maybe I'm mistaken. Okay. I could have swore it was. Yeah, because I have the 7900 XT. Yeah, so it's 20. I thought it was 24, but that's okay. So the 5090, just to put this in perspective, this is the justification. Oh, Strix is here. Strix in chat. This is NVIDIA's justification for this price tag. So what we know about this hardware leak is actually, like I said, pretty substantial.
Hold on. You say this is their justification. Is this any sort of official justification?
Yes, this is the leaked information that came out about their specs for this GPU. I still think it's
necessarily official.
Fair. It's leaked information. It could be skewed one way or the other, but with what they're saying here, it fits with everything that's come before, everything that's been talked about. It seems like a logical statement. They're saying that this new graphics card, it is already confirmed. This is a known fact. It is the first GPU to have DDR7 RAM on it. This is going to be running GDDR7 RAM. So incredibly, already just a generational leap right there. It's also going to have 32 gigs of it. My GPU came out 2 years ago and has 20 gigs of DDR6. This is 32 gigs of DDR7 VRAM.
So just if you don't know this, keep in mind that GDDR is different from
regular DDR.
RAM.
Yeah, it's DDR not the same thing.
It's different. GDDR is different than your standard computer RAM. And so the real question is, because I've looked into the difference of DDR from DDR4 to DDR5, which is your computer RAM. I looked at the difference there, and that is a pretty huge upgrade. And there's a large timeline in between DDR4 and DDR5's release. DDR6 and DDR7, I don't know that. So I'm going to ask you, is there going to be any sort of substantial leap?
Well, so this is where things get a little, I mean, we're going to know for sure at CES. Like, one thing NVIDIA does well is they give specs well. They present good data very clearly. They do a great job with that. So DDR7 is relatively new tech and is expected to be costly in comparison to GDDR6 or GDDR6X.
It's so damn new.
Right. Yeah. It's cutting.
They didn't give it a chance to really figure it out.
Which has its own cautions, right? Like you're going into a completely new thing. You know, let's be clear. The 40 series had issues. They were breaking motherboards. They were so big and bulky and heavy. So there could be issues with this, right? Like there could be other issues here.
My first question is there's a 14 gigabyte difference between your graphics card and the 5090.
Yeah, 12.
4 gigabyte.
12. I have 20. Yeah.
Not 14.
Yeah.
Either way, is the performance of this graphics card. Again, my initial question was the performance difference from GDDR6 to GDDR7, but how much? I don't even know how to properly word this.
I would imagine the
performance difference is going to be based on more RAM rather than just better RAM.
I think it's both. Much like like jumping from DDR4 onboard RAM to DDR5 onboard RAM. That's a huge generational leap in terms of capabilities, power consumption, output, like this.
Transfer.
Yeah, like there's a ton of metrics that go up from that, right? And we're going to find out exactly what those are.
There was also a massive time difference between DDR4 and DDR5.
Right, onboard
GDDR6 and GDDR7, there's not a massive time leap, which means the technology itself can't improve as much.
When did video cards?
It was a fair amount of time in between DDR4 and 5, but I don't know about GDDR.
Let's see. Well, so let's see. Just doing a quick cursory Google search. GDDR6 was officially introduced in July of 2017. Was first put on a card in February. No, hang on, stand by. NVIDIA first used GDDR6 on the 20 series. So in 2018, late 2018, the 20 series cards were the beginning of GDDR6. So it's been 6 years-ish.
Okay. That's more than I thought.
Yeah. So it's been a quote unquote, in the term of graphics cards, dude, like it's insane.
That's a fair amount of time. Yeah.
That's a huge amount of time in graphics cards. I had a 1080, which like was the beginning of having RAM on your GPUs, right? Like the 10 series was like the start. I think the 10 series has like 4 gigs of onboard RAM. It's not a lot.
Yeah, but either way, still.
And generationally,
what they can do.
Yeah. It's suspected that this entire jump in capability equates to something like 21,760 CUDA cores of just processing power in that RAM on that on that GPU. So like we're going to know more about this come CES. Again, they do a great job delivering this information and putting it in a way that can be consumed and understood and digested. But even with that information, I don't think a single piece of tech is worth $2,000.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the price of a used car. Granted, it's a shitty used car, but that's a used car.
I mean, like I said earlier, this type of tech is intended for the super rich or the absolute crazy enthusiast.
But it didn't used to be. That's the fucked up thing, is it didn't used to be insane to own a 90 series. It didn't used to be.
While I agree with you, at the same time, the performance boost that you're going to see in, say, a 4070 versus more than likely a 5070 is probably going to be big enough, and the price difference won't be super huge. That, I mean, so like the 5090 is going to be someone for like Terry Crews, who played Battlefield 4 and was like, "This is amazing. I'm going to go spend stupid money on a PC," which he did, by the way.
Yeah.
And while I agree with you, like the top of the top used to not be for the 1%ers, and it is now. That does suck, but I don't know. I guess I'm trying to look at it from just I don't know, a business standpoint, perhaps, maybe. I don't know if that's appropriate. But like, again, someone that most people don't buy GPUs or even most computer parts every year, right? Not like cell phones. They buy them every couple of years, maybe 2 or 3, and upgrade various portions at one time. so they can improve the performance of the computer. The GPU being, I guess I'm trying to look at it from a lower end standpoint. I don't know how to word it appropriately.
It's I don't think there's anything that can be said to make that a justifiable price. That being said, however,
I'm not trying to say that.
Yeah. That being said, however, unless you're buying, let me look here. Let me look. Yeah, okay. Even here, this is fucking ridiculous. A 4090 right now, an ASRoG Strix GeForce RTX 4090 white OC edition from NVIDIA's website itself is $2,099.
You made it white OC edition or something like that?
That's just the only one that comes up on their website when you search for a 4090. Okay. Now, if you go to 4090 you can buy. If you go to Newegg, they're over $3,000.
Oh my god!
So they're still scalping these. These are still being scalped. Yeah. So now I'm sitting here going, well, shit, $2,000 for a 5090 is cheaper than the 4090. Right? What the fuck is happening?
Right. So if you are not part of the Discord, you wouldn't know that I am currently considering buying, part by part to build myself a half decent PC. And my budget is $200 to $2,500. And if I were to go with a 5090, that would be more like $400 to $4,500 probably.
Yeah. You'd only be buying the GPU.
You're right. So, I mean, that's obviously outside of my price range, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I guess I'm trying to look at it from, a cheaper GPU standpoint. Like,
honestly,
I'm looking at a 4070 Super at the moment.
I don't think, my personal opinion is NVIDIA shines in their higher end. If you can't get an 80 or a 90 series, you're better off getting an AMD because...
Well, my understanding is 4070 Super or TI or whatever, Super TI, whatever the fuck their stupid naming convention is it's actually better than the 4080, regular 4080.
So 4070 Ti, you're saying?
Sure.
I
think they have a 4070 Ti Super or Super Ti.
Yeah, they have a Super Ti. It's like marginal, I think. I mean, but again, it's one of those things that's like,
for me, who doesn't have a computer built in any way, shape, or form,
right,
it would be better to buy better.
No, the 4080 is still better. But the price difference, it's only better by negligible percentages. It looks like 16, 17, and 20% respectively in certain areas, which is a negligible percentage considering that the 4070 Ti Super is $749 or $740 and the 4080 is roughly $1,000. So like price per power point, better. But here's the thing. Again, the 4070 Ti doesn't have as much onboard video RAM as the RX 7900. This GPU is a worse GPU, arguably, than the one I have, which is $59 more. So,
makes me wonder. I have to look at like companies like, say, Digital Foundry. Hey.
Yeah, there's more that goes into it than just how much RAM it has, obviously.
Well, yeah, specs don't really mean, technically speaking, they don't mean everything because you have to figure out how it's all configured together, blah, blah, blah. But like an actual breakdown of which one performs better, basically. Yeah. Is it actually better because it's quote unquote on paper better?
So here's the thing. When RTX first came out, and I want to say this and then we'll move on to our next topic. When RTX first came out, the reason NVIDIA was the beloved card, the brainchild that everybody wanted, was ray tracing. Ray tracing used to be exclusive to the RTX cards. That's what RTX is. It's why I went from GTX to RTX. But now ray tracing's on AMD as well. It's also on Intel. It's no longer proprietary tech for those GPUs. DLSS will probably, DLSS will probably always be NVIDIA's thing. But if you don't care about AI upscaling, then you don't need to get an AMD card. You don't have to pay, you don't have to get an NVIDIA card. You don't have to pay NVIDIA prices just for ray tracing anymore. So if you want price per power ratio and you can't get the 8090 series or whatever the case may be, it's not a bad option to look at AMD and go, okay, realistically, what am I getting for my money? My GPU has been phenomenal. I have loved every minute of my 7900. It delivers amazing performance in every game I play. In fact, what's bottlenecking me at this point is my AM4 processor. I'm running an old Ryzen 7 processor, and that's where I'm bottlenecking. My GPU hasn't been able to be touched by anything that I've played. I've played everything the last 2 years, ultra settings. My GPU handles it fine. And it probably will for quite a few years. So I don't know. Tech is weird. We will see more of the 5090 at RTX. I'm sorry, not RTX. CES, and we'll get some more information. But I think NVIDIA is losing their damn minds now that they don't have any real competition. They're pulling a Sony. They're saying if you want to play top end, you're going to pay big money. They're doing exactly what Sony did with the PS3, making it an unreasonable amount. Yeah. Making it an unreasonable amount of money because they really don't have any competition. AMD has said they cannot compete with NVIDIA, and that's just the way it's going to be. It'll be years before Intel can even come close, I would imagine. Like probably 5, 10, maybe longer.
Yeah. It's interesting because they're also providing relatively cheap options by comparison anyway.
Yeah.
That run those DLAA, DLSS, and there's another one that I can't remember the name of.
Yeah.
But basically the AI upscaling options to make your life better. And so obviously you're not going to get 5090 performance with a 4070 Ti or whatever.
Right.
But you should be able to do more. And that sort of tech is obviously been popular enough that it's found its way into the PlayStation 5 Pro, and it'll obviously find its way in the future PlayStation consoles, and more than likely an Xbox and Nintendo as well. Like the rumor has it that the Switch 2 is going to have DLSS features built into it. But anyways,
yeah, scaling is coming to everything.
Yes, it's interesting to see where things are going with it. I think their pricing is crazy. If they price themselves out of purchasers, then they're going to have to course correct. They're not going to have a choice. So I guess we'll see how it happens.
We will. But speaking of AI, there's going to be a theme going through tonight, and that is it. Because we're also now going to talk about our man on screen, the one, the only legend, Elon Musk. You love him, you hate him, you have no feelings towards him one way or the other if your name is Russ Gilfillan. So Elon Musk is, I guess, starting an attempt at a video game studio. And potentially, it's Elon Musk, right? So like half of what he says is trolling, half of it is, I don't know. I don't pay attention to him.
Ideas that doesn't ever come to fruition. Others is, hey, I'm working on it. He's all the fuck over the place.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is like textbook ADHD. Like this man is absolutely.
He is.
Yeah.
No, he is.
He's everywhere.
That's been confirmed.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. He's probably got some autism in him too, because they generally go hand in hand to a certain extent.
Actually, I think he's also confirmed that as well.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So he has announced that he wants to, not is going to, right? He's trying to make a gaming studio that uses mostly AI, right? And he says this is the best part, and then I'll let you jump in. He says it's to, quote, make games great again, and it just made my skin crawl when I heard that. I was just like, ugh.
He's obviously on the Trump train. I mean, he likes the idea of Trump's make America great again. And I mean, hell, he went to a rally a few weeks back before the election, and he had a black MAGA hat. He goes, "I've gone dark MAGA."
Can I just say this man didn't live in this country when it was quote unquote great?
No, exactly. To give him a little bit of credit here, someone said that he was like nothing but a shit poster these days, and all he does is troll people. And he responded to that text or tweet with, "To be fair, I get paid to shit post all day." So, like,
I mean, you got to give it to him on that one, I guess.
I mean, the motherfucker, when he bought Twitter, he walked in with a kitchen sink and said, "Let that sink in."
Jesus.
Like, the motherfucker trolls to live. Yeah, like, that's half his job. So, back on topic here. Some guy on Twitter who's a blue check mark, which doesn't really mean much because you can pay for that. Anyways, this guy, I'm not even going to try to say his name. Oshi Nakamoto. Yes, I tried anyways. Yes, that's right. Anyways, he says, "I don't understand how game developers and game journalism got so ideologically captured. Gamers have always been trolls, anti-greedy corporations, anti-BS. Gamers have always rejected dumb, manipulative BS and can tell when someone is an outsider poser. Why lean into this BS?" Which he's referring to industry shit.
Okay.
I'm not even going to get into it.
Yeah, it's a whole nother. Yeah.
Yeah. So Elon Musk saw this and retweeted it with a follow-up of too many game studios are owned by massive corporations. At XAI is going to start an AI game studio to make games great again. And when I told this to Russ, he's like, but you're a massive corporation, which I chuckled at when I read this myself. It's like, this is true. He has multiple massive corporations.
Aren't you a massive corporation, Elon?
Right.
I'm pretty sure you own SpaceX, Tesla. What?
Right, exactly. So it's definitely a bit... it makes me wonder how serious this is.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, multiple times over the past 15 years or so, he's come out and made more or less said, hey, I want to do this, or this should happen. I mean, hell, a couple of years ago, he said, when he bought X, he said that everyone would soon be using X as also a banking app. And that's obviously not the case.
What a fucking wild thing to say.
Right. So, he, like we mentioned earlier, he's got a bit of ADHD and autism in him, and he's been clear enough about that. And my wife herself is ADHD. I don't believe she has any autism in her. But my point in saying that is that she's shared a lot of posts and stuff from other people who have made ADHD type posts. And she'll very, very regularly be like, this is me, or, this is funny, but it's also me kind of thing. And I do sort of understand to a degree, even though I don't have it myself. I think a lot of it is just his mind is constantly fucking running, just constantly. Like there's nothing he can do to stop it. And so he just posts his thoughts, whether they are actually something that's happening or something that's not. And so it's really hard to tell if this post is real or not. Well, especially when you consider. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. I mean, when you consider his track record, though, like he's got the hyperfixation side, right? Like he gets hyperfixed on something, Tesla, SpaceX, and he makes it happen, and then he kind of just moves on. Which you can do that, but you got to have good people behind you to really pull that off.
Yes. Well, I think that's the reason why X has kind of worked, is because he hyperfixated on it, and then it was like, hey, do you think someone else should run this? And everyone was like, yeah, sure. And he goes, okay, cool. I'll let that person do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my wife does that all the time. All the time.
I mean, I do that. It's a common thing. Faith does it. I do it. It happens. I think most people probably do it, to be honest, to one or a lesser degree, right? But
1 degree, yeah, exactly.
The wanting to use AI intrigues me, right? Because we've talked about it. We've talked about AI as a tool, and you use it to get the gist of what you want, and then you refine from there. Well, if he wants the whole studio to be AI, somebody's got to be running the ship. I mean, the AI is getting better. I shared a video in the Discord earlier about if Castlevania Symphony of the Night was remade in UE5, and it was entirely AI generated, like fly-throughs of the level, overviews of monsters with animations. Like it looked pretty damn good for what was legitimately AI generated, AI trained imagery. The question is, are we there yet to do that?
My guess is no, because all of those videos exist for like movie adaptations and so on and so forth. And, and they're generally relatively still images. Every once in a while you might have a character walking or something like this, or like that Symphony of the Night image or a video you posted. It has like a snake going through water, and the water looks good, and the movement looks good and all that, but ultimately it's like really basic.
It has that weird I think honestly in a few years this won't be something people say. Like I think when you and I are in our 70s, but I think what I'm saying right now, it won't be that it's better, it's that people won't know it's wrong. And what I mean by that is it has that uncanny valley. And I feel like that's a version of AI that will always exist. It will always feel slightly wrong. But the people that grow up with it now, like Maury's children and her grandchildren, they won't have that disconnect. I think we're probably some of the last generation, us and like, what would that be? What the fuck's the generation under us? Zoomers? That's under us, yeah?
That's the one directly beneath us.
Right.
Yes.
So Zoomers and I think it's Zoomers then Alpha, because I'm pretty sure Maury's Alpha.
I think that's right.
I think so. Right. So I feel like Zoomers are probably.
No, Maury's the next one. I'm pretty sure.
Is she beta? I don't know. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The generation we are and the generation below us, I think we're some of the last that are going to be able to identify, like, yeah, no, that's AI. It's absolutely
not just identify it, but easily identify.
Because it's going to be that uncanny valley. There was a video I was watching earlier that was like, whoa, holy shit, this Osprey flew really low over the heads of some troops or whatever, and me and the guy watching it were like, this isn't real, this has to be AI. And we're like watching it, it's like, yeah, no, this is AI, because there'd be all kinds of rotor wash, people would be flying all over the place, this dude's hat would be flying. So like, it's stuff like that I feel like we catch because we know the reality side. We've seen stuff done with practical effects to do this, so we know what it's supposed to look like.
The majority of our life was grown up with real.
Yes.
And then they started implementing the CG After Effects and things of that sort. And those were always a little funky, but then they got so good, it's kind of hard to tell. But now it's AI and it's trying to do both.
Yeah.
So like this sort of leads into, I can't remember who it was that said this, but he's a very prominent industry person. I can't remember if it was Mark. The Witcher guy. The Witcher guy. What the hell is his name?
The actor, Henry Cavill?
There you go, Henry Cavill. But there's another guy with Mark. Anyways, some famous person in the video game industry, he came out recently and was like, I don't think AI is really the devil walking in and taking over the industry. I mean, it's a tool. It's going to be used for this and that, and it's going to be a long time before it comes over and takes over everything. Because right now, it is something that is purely built by humans. It can only work by what we tell it to do.
Right.
It cannot do its own thing. You can give it a set of commands, and then, as you mentioned, it can refine those, whatever it does that it makes, and it can make it better or change it in various ways or whatever. And so if you have someone behind this, let's say XAI video game development studio, or a set of people, 20 people, 100 people, whatever, to make your game work appropriately, you have people, typing in commands to make the code to make this happen, but that still requires human effort. You can't just say, make a video game that's like Legend of Zelda that also has this feature. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with in this. And I can see Elon Musk, given he's the richest man in the world, or at least
one of them.
One of them. He can pay people to make something like this happen. And even if, 50% or 70 or 20 or whatever percentage happens to be the case, if it's actually AI generated, it's still going to require human effort and human oversight. And it's going to be a long time until that's not the case.
Yeah.
Assuming that ever becomes not the case.
I don't think the problem that most people have with AI is that it's going to take all of the jobs. It's just already taken so many jobs. Yeah. That's the big issue there, is like, yeah, no, there's still going to be dev teams, but those teams of hundreds of people are now teams of tens of people. Yeah. And that's what we've seen in the industry. And that's concerning and upsetting for sure.
Honestly, I don't know if it is concerning and upsetting. I guess, you consider back in the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 days, they were teams of 2 to teams of maybe 70, less than 100 people.
Right.
Now you've got teams of 7 and 800.
If plus. Not more. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's definitely a question of did we bloat, right? And there's also the question of did they hire too many during COVID, thinking for some reason that the metrics we're seeing during COVID, when no one can do anything, are going to be the new standard. I don't know what person, like, they could not have been listening to analysts when they're like, oh yeah, this is the new standard. Like, I'm sure their analysts were like, you're fucking stupid. This is an anomaly. Like, but yeah, and besides the point,
to kind of like. It's a little bit off topic, but it is relevant. A lot of people that I'm seeing on X, or formerly Twitter or whatever, a lot of people are saying that they're starting to see big budget AAA titles or AAA development studios. They're unsustainable. 700+ people is kind of crazy for a single video game.
Absolutely.
And so, sure, they might start to utilize AI to get rid of some of these people, because that's too many. You can't sustain that forever. Or what I'm getting at here with X is that a lot of people believe that the future of the industry, it seems to be reliant on independent developers.
Yes.
Because, it's either one person in some cases to, 10 to 15 or whatever people, and they're working their best, and it takes them a few years, whatever. But what they're making is actually, inspired. It's actually creative. They're not,
it's
held behind by
it's
what
passion.
gaming started as.
Yeah.
And even if they use techniques like AI or whatever in between, but that's the future because it's not led by massive corporations that are controlling every little aspect or cog or whatever. And it'll be interesting to see where the industry goes because there's so much possibility for both good and bad.
Yep.
And AI is like that tool in between that could be used for either. And so I don't know what's going to happen. I personally really like Elon Musk and I like what he's done with a lot of things. And so I have a kernel of faith that this could potentially be something good, but I also don't know.
Well, speaking of what could be, there's a new game coming out called Paradise. And
so we're not going to be unburdened by what could have been.
Weird.
Sorry. Totally unreal.
You did kind of unreal. Took me right off the tracks. Okay, Paradise. Let's get into this. This is a upcoming game from, as far as I can tell, a no-name dev. I don't know anything about this company. This is Ultra Games HK is the publisher. It's their only game. Yep. I'm pretty sure this is a fantastic rebranding because if you're looking at the video on screen, it looks, the trailer sounds, the visuals, everything looks like this is the day before 2.0. Now, again, let me be clear. That was complete speculation that this is a fantastic 2.0. I don't have any information that says that's the case. It just looks like they looked at the day before and said, yo, hold my beer. Let's do that. But GTA meets Second Life, which if you don't, go ahead.
Let's say, let me throw in here that when I shared this bit of news with the moderators of the Discord, I did say the day before too, sure does look nice with this water physics in this trailer, but also in previous weeks in our I can't remember if it's Patreon site or not, I basically said if Fantastic would just rebrand but not tell us, not tell us, that would be the better choice for them because of their history. If they don't have some sort of negative news behind whatever it is they're making, people will be more willing to be like, is this good or not?
Is this shit? It's the butterfly meme. Yes. It makes me wonder if they are watching our streams and maybe taking some notes.
You were in their Discord.
I was in their Discord. So I did talk to their mods. Maybe. Anyways. Maybe. Paradise is a really bizarre game as far as I can tell. I've watched the main trailer a couple of times. They have a Steam page. We'll make sure that's linked as well. There's a secondary video there that's about 5 minutes of gameplay. It looks like bog standard UI5 animations or UE5 animations. It's the run is like straight up, they booted up a fresh freaking box and was like, all right, let's run. And that's the run animation that you get, just starter run animation when you're building in UE5. The game claims to be completely AI'd in a sense that you're not going to know who's a real player and who's an AI without actively walking up and talking to them. And we had mentioned this before in a Skyrim mod. This whole game is built around the same AI tech that somebody built for Skyrim to turn ChatGPT.
I'm just going to say we think.
No, they said that it's ChatGPT based speech synthesis, which is exactly
what, I didn't realize they said
it's
that.
on their website. It uses ChatGPT based voice synthesizing to give NPCs voices. So when you see, like, when you run up and hit T to talk, you're actually turning on your mic to say, hey, what's up? Hey, what are you up to? What's going on? And then there's a huge long pause as ChatGPT analyzes what you said and tries to think of how to respond, like a Chevy transmission that doesn't know that it has one job, which is to shift. And it takes forever. And then it comes up with an answer and response. Sorry, I hate Chevy transmissions. And for some reason that popped into my brain right there because it felt about like same length of time. So it everything about it looks interesting, but also off. Again, it's that uncanny valley, right? It feels like things are just slightly wrong. One of the characters, one of the NPCs the guy runs up to, he literally runs up to them and says, hey, are you an NPC or like a real person? And the AI just goes, I don't have time for this shit, and walks away, which is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
It does. I mean, so like it's something we've talked about. Like even you have talked about over the years of like you miss being able to walk up to NPCs and typing in your message to them with the original request.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and we're finally getting to the point where artificial intelligence can step in and make it feel organic, even if, like we said before, our generation is going to be able to tell that it's clearly bullshit.
Yeah.
But at the very least, it'll be enough to fill in the gaps, and we'll just have fun with it, you know? And this game, it's not Grand Theft Auto. It's not Naughty Dog or
Ubisoft or anybody. It's
Rockstar. That's the word.
Yeah, it's not Rockstar. Yeah, they say missions and doing jobs, like they're talking about it like it's GTA, but a lot of the content they show also feels very much like Second Life, which if you guys don't know that game, it was an MMO from a long time ago that was legitimately real life in a video game as best as they could. You could work a normal job in the video game. It was a Second Life.
It actually got so big that major corporations had their own stores within this video game.
So weird.
And you could buy product in the game of the real.
It got weird. It got weird.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's trying to blend that with ChatGPT and like AI and add this immersion, which we've talked about before. We talked about it when we talked about Elder Scrolls 6 recently. I would love a game that does this. I would love to be able to actually talk to NPCs in games, right? We mentioned that. I don't think these are the people to do it. I think this game is going to be exactly like the day before, if I'm honest, and it's going to come out and it's going to be trash. And the one big thing that points to this being trash on release is if you scroll to the bottom of their website at paradisevs.com, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see wishlist on the Epic Games Store, wishlist on Steam, and free to play with the quotes soon next to the Windows logo. If this game is free to play, that raises a ton of other concerns. How are you making your money back? Are you stealing my data? Are you stealing my voice?
That's a good fucking question.
Yeah.
I mean, and they could easily put that in the EULA, which nobody reads.
Yep.
And wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions here, a lot of scary questions. So beyond
and
that,
see, the thing is they could even include in this EULA that they can take your voice and sell it.
Yes,
for all they want.
Yes,
and etc. and so on for potential breach of privacy, even though it's not a breach because you're agreeing to it because you didn't read it.
So what I'm going to say right now is I'm going to cautiously tell anyone hearing my voice right now, if you are interested at all remotely in passing in playing this game, highly recommend seriously reading the legalese before you start this game, because it's going to use voice chat. You can use text to talk, but you will absolutely probably want to go with using your voice, and so it raises questions.
So this is actually something that I said completely unrelated to Russ before the podcast started. We were looking up news and trying to find out what to talk about and so on and so forth. I was looking up an article, and I mean, X has this, and not YouTube, but Yahoo has this, and other major websites have this now. But when you pull up an article, they will have an option to have an AI like breakdown of
synopsis.
What the article says. So you can read the synopsis, bullet points. And so even if you don't want to read this EULA, you can copy and paste it or take the link to it or whatever and share it to an AI and say, tell me what this says. Give me an informational. That way you don't have to read the whole legalese and be like, what the fuck is this saying?
Yeah.
You can have it break it down for you, and you can even ask it general or very specific questions of, what does this mean for me as a player? What are they going to be taking from me? So on and so forth. AI can be a very useful tool. And in the case of Paradise, it's an essential tool.
I think so.
Not just because it's being used to develop the game, but because it might be used to steal your information game.
Yeah. The free-to-play immediately made me go, ooh, that's a big question. There's also weird things with this game. Like they have influencers in the game that are powered by AI. I don't know, like, was there an agreement signed by these people? Did they sell something? Like, it's such a weird inclusion to be like, oh yeah, run around and chat with influencers and build your business. And it's like, who is this game for? What are you trying to be? Is this GTA? Is this Build My Business Simulator 2025? What are we playing here? A wannabe influencer? Like, what are we playing?
They don't show nearly enough gameplay, and when they talk about gameplay, they're like, it includes shootouts and this, and you're like, oh, great. So and then, to be fair, the one bit of shooting they show, there's zero recoil whatsoever. So it goes to show you they didn't implement that very basic middleware for the gun that's being included, which obviously points to this game being somewhat of a middleware, shovelware project. Hopefully not. I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be very weird.
So the 5-minute video on their Steam page is all gameplay. I watched about 3 or so minutes of it. It's rough. But here's the thing. I kind of want to play it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know. I literally just said, be careful with this game, but I kind of want to play it.
It's because it's at that forefront of possibilities for what AI can do and what you can do with this sort of technology, and it looks decent enough. And even if it's coming out in the, say, early access or alpha state or whatever, you could be at that beginning of the way video gaming changes. Because AI like this will change the way we play video games.
Yeah.
Even if it's just interacting with AI or NPCs.
Right. And I'm curious to see what their limits of the AI are. Like, how far can you go? Like, not to go like too insane, but like, can you get to the point where you, I don't know, let's say you intimidate someone, right? To the point of like, hey, you're going to go help me with this crime. Like, I'm going to go rob this bank and you're going to be my wheelman, or I'm going to kill you. Like, can you do stuff like that?
Yeah. Or even something as basic as that. Even something as basic as that one NPC that he goes, "Are you an AI?" And she goes, "I don't have time for this." If you go, "Well, fuck you too, you stupid bitch," is she gonna get upset at you?
Are you gonna get like, a fist fight? Like, what's gonna happen? So
like, there's so many potential possibilities for this to actually be really cool, but also super basic and be like, "Oh, yeah."
It does say on their website, the goal, I don't know if this is what they actually achieve, is this AI NPC idea of they're supposed to feel like real humans. They have their own lives. They interact with you based on their current mood. So that implies there's some sort of backend that you can affect their mood. You give them some flowers and then punch them in the jaw. What's going to happen? How are they going to process that? Like, you shoot their kneecap out and then you apply life-saving first aid. How are they going to handle that? Like, it raises interesting questions, but at the end of the day, everything that's in this trailer so far, every single thing from the movement to the assets to the everything, I can tell you is highly likely generic store-bought assets, AI placed. That's it. Yeah. So,
I mean, the idea is cool, and it's definitely like the first of many iterations, whether it's by this developer or others, where, like you mentioned, there's so many possibilities. Even just the examples you gave, that's going to require a deep pool to pull from. And I've played with a lot of AIs. I've mentioned them already, and I try my best to use more than just one. That way I'm not getting, a single experience.
Right.
So I can see how well they work and how well they respond to my inquiries and so on and so forth. And being able to pull from a vast majority, or not a vast majority, but a large pool of potentialities, I feel like that's going to have to be very, very specifically curated, especially with some of the examples you gave. I mean, you walk up to someone and you're like, you know what? You suck. You should suck my dick, or whatever it is you decide to say to these people or do to them, or, in the past,
how are they going to respond to it?
In the past, there was very limited ways that they could respond, and it was very clear because you'd get those responses over and over again. With AI, that could be vastly improved, but even still, there's a limitation to it. So how are they? Yeah, exactly. How are they going to respond? How are they going to manage to be able to pull from some sort of mass pool, and or how are they going to be able to I guess artificially choose a response that seems appropriate? And also, how randomized is it going to be? Like, there's so many possibilities to this.
Yeah.
It's the possibilities are endless to the point where it not just in this game, because this game is so generic in the sense of it's a GTA open world, LA, whatever. But like, imagine this with, like you mentioned, Elder Scrolls,
Yeah.
or Helldivers, or whatever. Like, there's so many different ways that this could be implemented in a really cool way. And I'm ready for us to kind of be there, you know?
Same. I think that's what makes me so interested in it, is that like I'm ready for that next push in game design, but I don't think it's going to come from a nobody. I think it's going to have to come from somebody who's been in the industry long enough to understand how this should work. Strix says 10 out of 10, mostly AI slapped together.
Right. So with your current statement is you don't think it's going to come from a nobody. And while I don't know if it's fair to call Steven Sharif a nobody, but at the same time,
he's not, but he's also not, like, he's breaking MMOs into a new world, but he's not breaking gaming into a new world.
Yes, but like that's my point, is he is fundamentally changing the way MMOs will work, and hopefully, and very seemingly, a phenomenal way. Sure, he's not changing gaming as a whole or AI or whatever. But I guess I'm trying to say is don't count out nobodies.
Yeah.
Or quote nobodies, you know?
I mean, sure. Fair. So as you were talking, I was just doing a little bit of digging here. I know a few things about the intrawebs, so I started doing some digging on exactly. I started doing some digging on Ultra Games.
We've only been around since before the internet existed.
So yes,
a little bit of experience with it.
A little bit of experience. It is currently, as it's launched on Steam, SteamDB has it listed with 20,000 followers. So 20,000 people on Steam for Paradise. For Paradise, this game. Since its release on Steam, its Steam page opening, 20,000 followers have been watching this game.
When did it open on Steam?
I can't find that information. I don't know when the page went live, but I imagine it was relatively recent. Because I don't have that information here. I did do a quick search to see if I could find out more about the owners of the ParadiseVS.com domain name service, but they were smart and applied privacy information to it, which good on them for doing that. Good. Adds some credibility to their capabilities, but it does say that it was purchased, the domain name service was purchased on September 11th. Which is an interesting day.
Very recent.
September 11th of 2024. So it's entirely possible that they had been working on this and didn't want to purchase the domain name until they had something to show, or they bought the domain name and slapped this together. 10
out of 10, right?
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's interesting. They don't have a publisher website. I can't find anything on Ultra Games HK. There was an old publisher called Ultra Games that, from what I quickly found, helped with old 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit games. They worked on one of the original Metal Gears. They worked on some Sega games, some other stuff like that. I believe they partnered with Konami on some things. It was just a quick cursory search. I can't find anything else on this developer or publisher. This Ultra Games just does not seem to exist anywhere on the internet, which is not a great sign. We've seen that with The Day Before. We've seen that with Alcahest, which, spoiler alert, Alcahest still has been completely dark since that trailer. They have said nothing in their Discord. Strict said 9/11 hashtag ISIS terror plot. So I don't know. I'm very cautious about this game. The Day Before, it showed us that it is not hard to make something that looks good and get people hyped to turn out to be shit. And I am fully expecting that with this game. I'm fully expecting there to be some kind of gotcha in the legalese for this game. We'll see. I don't know what else to say than that. We'll see.
Yeah, we're hopeful for something like this. I guess the best way to put this is we're hopeful that something like this will eventually become the standard because it will open up possibilities for the industry. We've talked about Seaman and various other games that used player-based communication, voice communication with with AI or NPCs anyways. And they were always super rudimentary. And a game like this is promising something that we hoped for back in the PlayStation 2 days, 25 years ago. And it's finally a possibility, even though it's still in the really early stages. And like we said, we don't really expect it to be from nobodies. We expect it to be probably from some major corporation, whoever that may be. Be it Sony, Microsoft, Naughty Dog, or not Naughty Dog, but Rockstar or EA or whatever. Who knows? This might very well prove us wrong. Probably not, but maybe. So, at the very least, this could be somewhat of a learning experience for bigger developers or publishers. We'll see.
So I pulled up their Q&A on their website, and I'm gonna make sure that that's plugged. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in the Discord right now. Sorry, not the Discord, the chat right now. For anybody who wants to read their Q&A section, there is some interesting information in this. One of which includes the mention of a Paradise app, which is being designed for gamers, offering a platform with an in-game marketplace for purchasing virtual items, user interactive features, leaderboards, clans, and task completion. An app, a companion app to this game. Interesting, not uncommon.
That sounds a lot like to me.
What's that?
Sounds like a lot like what Fantastic did with The Day Before.
Yeah.
Where they were promoting.
I
mean, in this case, it's relevant to the video game.
Right,
before
but
it wasn't.
Yeah. So
but Fantastic did this before, so it almost begs to wonder: are they listening to us?
Yeah, I don't know. And so here's another bit here. Will there be partnership agreements with well-known influencers such as Ninja, Pokimane, and others? At present, we have signed several contracts with influencers, primarily from Asian countries, and we continue to negotiate with major international partners. So I guess that means no to Americans.
Yeah.
There is a potential for cryptocurrency to be used in game.
I think they talk about crypto in the trailer.
Yeah, actually. There's a lot of information in here. It's an interesting read. Yeah, it was asking, Strick said, those are both American streamers. Yes, it was asking if those streamers would be in the game, and they dodged the question by saying they've signed Asian influencers currently.
Except for the fact that in the fucking trailer they show Pokimane
and... I don't know who half these people are, so it doesn't really make a difference to me, but
Pokimane, isn't Pokimane the bathwater girl?
I have no... that was Belle Delfina or something like that, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. You're right. I think you're right. Yeah. Whatever the fuck her name is.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is a weird one. I'm probably going to keep an eye on this. I'm debating joining their Discord too, just to lurk.
Fuck, join their Discord just to troll. Be an Elon Musk.
No, I can't do that. We're a public facing.
I know.
We're gamers. We're not assholes.
I know.
But
did you just call Elon Musk an asshole?
Yeah, of course he is. He's rich.
Correct.
Look, I'm an asshole and I'm poor. I think he's allowed to be an asshole if he's rich. Like,
right?
So it works.
I mean, he famously told Disney CEO to go fuck himself. So,
Yeah. So that's our main topics for tonight. Let's jump into our quickfire news. First off, gonna go ahead and throw this out here. This is some crazy cool news that will make you want to jump back into a PC classic from your past. A
classic.
Yeah.
You can't just say PC.
It is specifically PC because it's only on PC for this. Halo CE Combat Evolved, the original Halo, not the Master Chief Collection, the original Halo has been modded to be fully playable in VR with motion control support. And it looks fucking cool. It looks really fucking cool. It's still a work in progress, but the mod is available. You have to have a copy of Halo CE. again, not Master Chief, Halo CE, and you can play the original in VR. If there has ever been a reason to go back and play the original Halo, this is it. Grab a couple of your buddies, play some VR Halo co-op. Awesome. Great shit.
Okay, real question here. If I have the PC adapter for the PSVR 2, can I play it?
Theoretically, it's just a headset. So your headset is just a visual device. So as long as your controllers sync up to your computer and your headset syncs up to your computer, yeah, you've got a PC VR. So
I'll have to look into this.
Yeah. Yeah. Some good stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, let's jump into the rest of our quickfire. Tim, what do you got for us?
Yeah, okay. So Tencent, the wonderful company that they are, they have just acquired a majority stake in Kuro Games. They are the developer behind Genshin Impact clone Wuthering Waves, which I will have to say the conversation on X basically says that Wuthering Waves is actually kind of the best Genshin Impact like at the moment for various reasons. I haven't gotten super into it, so I can't really speak too much. Anyways, they just acquired like a 34% stake in the company, which puts them at above a 50% stake in the entirety company. So they have a majority stake now. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't really like Tencent too much. So we'll see if that has anything to do with what happens with this developer. They did confirm that Wuthering Waves is coming to PlayStation 5 on January 2nd. So I guess if you like Genshin Impact lights, keep your mind or keep your eyes open for that. Moving on, Stalker 2 is getting its first major patch.
I think it went live already.
Oh, did it?
I think so. Keep talking. Yeah, it says patch 1.01 is here. So it went live.
650 fixes included, which I think is insane. You shouldn't have that much of a need, although, like we said before, they were developing a game in the midst of a war, so they should be given a little bit of leeway. I've seen some stuff about Stalker, and I'm not going to talk about it because I haven't played it, so I can't give my personal opinions.
I can give mine. It's great.
Yes, so I've heard.
Doesn't play well on Xbox. There are not enough buttons on an Xbox controller, so if you're playing on an Xbox, I'm sorry, plug in a mouse and keyboard and get good, scrub. Secondly,
I've heard that quite a bit. Yeah. If you have the Xbox version, get yourself a mouse and keyboard. 100%.
Yep. It apparently, I don't know, in the wake of this patch, I did see some issues, people saying that they'd never had issues and now they do have issues after this patch. There's another patch coming. I can say, as an AMD user, I've had zero issues with this game. I've heard NVIDIA users have trouble. I haven't had any notable glitches or issues, and I'm currently, I can give you exact numbers here, I'm 14.7 hours into the game. So not a huge amount of time, but a respectable amount of time sunk into the game without any major crashes, bugs, or anything like that. So just my experience.
Yeah. I mean, my point has been lost in my own head, so I'll just move on. Moving on, Warhammer Space Marine 2 has now surpassed 5 million players. They don't specify what that means, but my guess is that they're including streaming players like GeForce Now players and such. I would be willing to bet that the streaming players, since it's only available on a limited number of streaming services, that the majority of players are actually purchased players. So it's probably over 4 million in the purchase department. But, either way, that's a pretty hefty number of players. So that's good for them. I love the game. It's fantastic. I've been playing the storyline lately just because it's fun. But moving on, the Lies of P developer has confirmed that the game Lies of P is getting its first major DLC in the first quarter of next year, 2025. Although at the same time, they also confirm another video game is being created, and not in the Lies of P franchise. They confirmed that a few weeks ago. We actually talked about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, give me that game. I want that game.
Yeah. The next game is actually a survival horror set in a sci-fi world. That's all we know. So they have at least 2 games in development along with DLC.
Are they making Dead Space 2 remake?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Although
the Dead Space remake was really good.
Yeah.
So I can see them giving Dead Space back to that developer.
Yeah, fair enough. But it's survival space Sci-fi was like immediately Dead Space.
No, this is survival horror in sci-fi, not necessarily space.
Well, sci-fi is pretty much space.
It can be.
Yeah. Survival horror. Yeah. All right. I'm interested. Sign me up.
Sci-fi is also fantasy.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. Fair enough. I'm interested. Yeah. Check it out. I'll check it out. As long as it's not a Souls-like.
Oh, right. So speaking of space, Arrowhead Games Helldivers 2 has taken away its first Game of the Year award at the TIGA Awards, TIGA. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know what the fuck that is. I've never heard of the TIGA Awards.
What?
Before.
You've never heard of the TIGA Awards? You're not a real gamer. You don't know shit.
I was like, what the hell is the TIGA Awards? And every time I typed it in, which I didn't look terribly long, but every time I typed in the TIGA Awards, all it said was the TIGA Awards. It never clarified what they were.
It's just the TIGA Awards, man. The TIGA Awards are clearly the TIGA Awards.
So I was like, okay. They also took away Best Technological Innovation Award, which is kind of, to me, that's like, wait, what? What did they do that was crazy special in the technology department?
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
I mean, other than like the only thing I can think of in this game that was really cool was, as far as technology side goes, is when you yourself are playing as a player, there's a quote dungeon master, which we've talked about this. There's a dungeon master in the code, some guy, I forget what they call his name, Ted or whatever his name is. He can interact with the game that you are playing in real time.
Yep.
Give you stuff or give the enemy stuff and affect the galactic war that's going on. So that's maybe the only thing I can think of is why it would get technological award.
I could see that. Yeah.
Sort of new.
Yeah.
Either way, I think the game is great, and I think it should have been nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards, which it wasn't, in favor of a fucking card game. But whatever.
That card game is actually pretty good. I don't think it's worth Game of the Year, but you know what I'm very happy about that didn't get nominated? Dragon Age. Moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the reason why I brought up that card game is because, as I said in my previous episode, so 76, is there needs to be mass appeal, and card games don't have mass appeal. Anyways, moving on, Pokemon with Guns, which Pokemon has mass appeal, and Pokemon with Guns has probably even more mass appeal. Pal World is getting a crossover with Terraria, the side-scroller Minecraft-like-ish game Terraria. They've given us no details. So what the fuck that means, couldn't tell you.
It means what it means.
Yeah. We'll get more information eventually, and when we get it, we'll give it to you.
Yep.
Baldur's Gate 3, another major game, is getting its next update. In this case, Russ is confused because they said they weren't going to continue to patch it after 7. But in this case, they are getting a patch 8, and this is actually a pretty big update. They're actually including 12 new subclasses, which means every major class in the game is getting its own subclass or additional.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah. They've also promised that they're going to continue to support the game for modders, giving them major abilities to create their own stories. So it sounds to me like after this update, the majority of any future updates, because they've actually promised future support for the game, is that it's going to be mostly modder focused, which is good because that allows the game to live on without the developers having to actually do it.
I want to touch on this a little bit more because this update is important.
It's a big deal.
Big crossplay.
Yes, they did talk about that.
Crossplay.
Yes, correct.
The new subclasses you've got is College of Glamour for the Bard, Path of Giants for Barbarian, which is one of my favorite fucking mods in the game now that it's official. That's awesome. I love Path of the Giants. Cleric gets Death Domain. Druid is getting Circle of Stars. Paladin's getting, or got, I guess, Oath of the Crown. Fighter got Arcane Archer. Chris, I know you love that. Monk got Drunken Master. Fantastic. Rogue got Ranger got Swarm Keeper. Rogue got Swashbuckler. Awesome subclass. Sorcerer got Shadow Magic. Warlock got Official Hexblade. Fantastic. Wizard got Blade Singing. There's a photo mode. Tons of settings for that. I don't personally care about photo mode, but awesome for the people that do. A bunch of post-processing effects, tons of stuff for pitchers. Yeah, and that's patch 8. Like there's a lot. It said 12, but I guess it was one for each class. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So, yeah, some great new subclasses in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll add a lot of replayability to the game, which it already had. And just to take a step back here, the TIGA Award stands for the Independent Game Developers Association. So
interesting.
Yeah,
that's quite the name,
right? Let's see. So PlayStation's Herman Hulst, who has now stepped down from the president and CEO of Sony, he said back in March that the PlayStation 2 has actually sold 160 million units, which is 5 million more than they told us in 2012. Well, apparently everyone forgot that in March he said that, because Sony said it again, although technically confirming, because Herman Hulst, when he said this, it was sort of in passing in an interview. This is now an actual Sony press release confirmation, whatever, that they've actually sold that many units, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, they're just trying to inflate their numbers because the Nintendo Switch is getting close." I think people are just dumb and they're making connections that don't exist. Because
shocker.
Yeah, right. Anyways, apparently the PlayStation 2 continues to sell even though it hasn't been in production for a long fucking time. The only thing I can think of is back in 2012. That was around the time they stopped developing the PS2, and there was just stock existent in the world, and they finally sold those through those. I don't know. I know you can actually, maybe not now, but I have seen that you can actually buy brand new hardware for really old hardware in various places. And so it's probably just slow trickle of sales. Anyways, the PS2 sold 160 million units at this point.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Rather impressive.
Yeah, right. When you told me that, I was like, how are they still selling new ones?
That's why I said my guess is there was just stock existed.
Yep.
So moving on from Sony into Nintendo, Nintendo is closing their eShop store in China in 2026. The reasons are unclear. The only thing I know is that Tencent apparently is the company that they worked with to make it happen, and they're pulling the store. I don't know why. They don't say why.
Who the hell knows?
The only thing I found is that for those that are affected, they're giving away 4 free games so long as you have an account with some random Asian website that I'm unaware with. It's probably not random. It's random to non-Asian users or Chinese users anyways.
Right.
But they'll give away 4 free games. So if you're an Asian user and you're listening to us, look that up.
And also tell your friends about us. Spread the word.
Yeah. Yes, please.
You are the most populated nation. Well, one of them. So, tell people.
Right. Please. So from sales to non-sales, Mortal Kombat 1 apparently sold rather poorly, which is actually kind of surprising because Mortal Kombat 11 sold really well. But basically, it sold so poorly that the planned and promised future DLC for the game has been canceled.
Do you think people are just tired of Mortal Kombat?
So, that's exactly what happened with Mortal Kombat when it first came out. They, just released them like fucking crazy, and everyone was like, oh, these games are great, and then, got kind of tired of them. And I kind of feel like that's exactly what happened when Mortal Kombat made its comeback back in the late PlayStation 3 era.
Yeah. People
loved it, and they released, title after title, and then I think we're just kind of at that point where people are just like, yeah, it's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. I think
that's my guess.
Because it blew my mind how quickly we went from 10 to where we're at now. I remember 10 was the big one. It's like, oh, Mortal Kombat X, this game's amazing. It was the big comeback. And now it's like, all right, we're 1. Okay, I guess we're starting it over again.
We're back where we started. Yeah. Give me a Shaolin Monks again. I'll play that shit all day.
Shaolin Monks was legit.
It was so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing about Mortal Kombat that I wish they would have done is branch out into non-fighter. Branch out into those exploration, Baldur's Gate style games. Not Baldur's Gate Modern, but Baldur's Gate 2 style.
I would take a beat 'em up style, like Double Dragon style, that would have been cool. Streets of Rage style,
TMNT.
That would have been peak. That's where Mortal Kombat should let's try this. Let's see what we get.
I think
could you imagine just rolling down the street doing fatality after fatality,
bro?
Like
I'm not a big one-on-one fighter game, but if they did another Shaolin Monks or like we're suggesting, I'd be all the fuck over it all the time. They're just so good, and there's not nearly enough beat 'em up style games.
I need a highly like rasterized, just really raw version of Scorpion the whole time going, get over here, get over here, get over all day. Here. Give it to me. Just shooting the hook out the whole time. Get over here.
Right. All right. So moving on from that, the last bit of news we have is the rumors and speculation behind Sony's new handheld continue. And they actually move away from what we've sort of come to expect as what's going to happen. So what we understood is that Sony and Microsoft are all making, their new home console, but they're also going to have a companion handheld, a la the Steam Deck or whatever. This one sounds like maybe it's going to be kind of a cross between that and a PlayStation Portal, in the sense of that this new console, or this new handheld rather, is going to be a native PlayStation 5 handheld. You can play all of the PS5 games on it natively. Obviously, digital only.
Right.
But also that you'd be able to stream all of the PlayStation 6 games to it, all of the PlayStation Portal. So that makes a lot of sense to me. You don't have to worry about downgrading the game in the PS6 game at all. It just streams from the PS6. And given that the PlayStation Portal, like a week and a half ago, just got a proper update to the PlayStation Essential, or not Essential, but Plus, Premium Plus, or whatever the fuck they call it, because they got 3 names. You can now stream directly to the PlayStation Portal. No PlayStation 5 required.
How did that go? Did you try that?
I did actually. I updated it. It was only $20 for me to update for the next roughly 5 months, and I was like, "Fuck it, let's do it." And it's about as good as streaming from my PlayStation 5 directly.
Wow.
And I'm actually really impressed with it. I've tried like 4 or 5 different games. I tried Steel Rising, I tried Demon Souls, and I tried what was it? Medieval, the PlayStation 1 title, and a few other titles. And it works really well. There's not nearly enough titles that I'm particularly interested in, because I think the pool is something like 120 games.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are games I just don't care about.
Sure.
But still, they're going to obviously include more games over time, and like that's a really nice feature. You can now buy a PS Portal without having a PS5.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You can play games. Yeah, that makes it so much more worth buying.
That almost makes me want to buy it for my wife for Christmas, so that she can still have her gaming experience that she's used to. Like, I got her Hogwarts Legacy and she's been playing that on PC, but like she definitely does better with the controller. So like,
yeah,
PlayStation Portable, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or Horizon Forbidden West. Yeah, there you go.
Right. Huh. And that's my point, is for $200, it's a pretty fantastic device. And now that the fact that you don't need a PS5 to use it is super compelling.
Yeah, agreed.
So with a PlayStation 5 portable, or whatever the fuck they would call this thing, that allows you to play PS6 games streaming to it. I mean, hell, the PS Portal, I can't imagine why it wouldn't be able to support streaming PS6 games. So maybe someone like me, who was an early adopter, I don't have to buy this new device unless I want to be able to play PS5 games natively. I don't know. Like, they're kind of an interesting position to be able to, sort of play the market. Like, for me, I don't have to buy this new device because I have the Portal, but if I want to play natively, I have to buy the new one.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't have to. You know what I mean? So like, it's a cool position for them to be in, because they're basically kind of playing every hand, and anyone can really step in, and wherever they feel the need or willing to spend the money, Sony's not really in a bad position.
Yep. Fair enough. Well, I think...
Well, obviously, this is all, speculation / rumor / leaks.
Right.
So we'll see where this leads us.
We will. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for us tonight. Coming up next month, we have the Game Awards. And before we go, I want to know, Tim, what are you hoping to see at the Game Awards? What's the one thing that, if they announce it at Game Awards, will knock your socks off? What's the thing you're looking forward to the most? What kind of announcement could anybody make at the VGAs that you would want?
Okay, so is it something that I want or something that I expect?
Something that you want.
Okay, so I've been extremely consistent on X. If you follow me there, you will see the one dream announcement that I have is a Legend of Dragoon remake.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want that. Right. Please, for the love of God, give me a Final Fantasy VII or give me just a better graphically version. I don't even care.
Just a
same
HD
thing, just
remaster. Yeah.
Don't care. Right? That's all. That's what I want.
That'd be a good one. That'd be a good one.
I will jump out of my seat. I will be like, I don't remember that black streamer that's super expressive. I will be like him and I'll be all over the
place. Of course, I'm always hoping for a Tenchu remake or a remaster. But we talked about it last week. Soul Reaver 1 and 2 collection remaster are selling better than expected. The pre-orders, awesome. Great to hear. Would love to see a third one announced from Embracer Group, but I don't think we will. But the one thing I'm hoping, I'm hoping to see at these VGAs is something about KOTOR. I need something about KOTOR. Yeah. It has been 6 long years.
Yeah. So you gave more than one. My wish was, The Legend of Dragoon, right?
Yeah.
So my hope and semi expectation is actually a announcement from Naughty Dog. They've been talking quite a bit lately, and supposedly they're working on a fantasy type game.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm really excited to see what they've got cooking because they've been silent since 2020.
4 years.
That's a lot of time, and they were working on more than just The Last of Us 2. So.
Yep.
There's got to be something to show.
Yep. I'm hoping Jak and Daxter. I want Jak and Daxter back. Anyways, we're going to head over to our Patreon now. And then after that, I'll be in the Discord playing Stalker. And I'll be streaming there. If you guys want to chat, you can find me there. And that link is really accessible. All you got to do is go to linktree.com/coindropbets. Has all of our links there. You can join the Discord. Come hang out with us. Tell us if we suck, what you think of our show, whatever. You can say what you like. It's a free country. We believe in that. We're going to go over there and talk about some comments from Kratos actor Chris Judge. I always think of him as like Mike Judd, like the creator of Office Space. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I know I suck specifically. Thanks, Chris. We're going to be talking about the PlayStation veteran who's leaving PlayStation, Gran Turismo news, as well as the rumors and leaks about the Switch 2. We're going to give our take on it and our thoughts, and a new game that looks a lot like Horizon. So if any of those topics interest you, head over to patreon.com/coindroppod. And for $3 a month, you will get this episode a day early and all of that content plus upcoming games 4 times a month. That's a good deal. It's a good deal. So, Tim, I think you got the last words.
I mean, it's been too long. It's been 2 weeks this time. Mm-hmm. So make sure to tell your mother that I said a welcome hello.
Have a great